Hello, 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 and welcome to my channel. This is my very first doodling with Birdy. Today we're going to explore the prompt of what would you look like if you were in your very favorite cartoon? So I had a lot of different cartoons that I was thinking about, but my very favorite cartoon is Steven Universe. So first, when I started to plan, which is very important to do, is to plan your drawing. Uh, First, I started to look at some references. And as I was looking at references, I was trying to look at body types and kind of looking to see what personality and body type kind of fit me as well. So I looked at a couple different characters. As you can see, I was scrolling through quite a few of them, and I was trying to decide what type of character I would like to portray myself as if I were in the Steven universe. So I looked at Jasper and I was realizing, you know what? I liked Jasper at first, but then it's like, oh, her body type doesn't quite fit me. So then I tried Connie's mom. She was too stuffy. So I started to think about what else I could go for. A character that was kind of a little pushy and maybe also a little bit bigger. So hey, there's a Sadie's mom is who I decided to go for because she's spunky and passionate about what she does. So I thought that she would have a good character to build off of, and I went with it. I also really like her expression and her dynamic pose. So once I'd sketched out an idea, I started to plan my final sketch out. So I planned by doing some proportioning, and I measured those proportions out to try and make sure that they fit well together. And I wanted to make sure I filled the page correctly. So it's always important to measure several times before you start because you don't want the feet to end up going off of the page. So there was 4 heads on my sketch, and so I measured out 4 heads and started to sketch out my idea. I'm trying to draw lightly in this regard because I want to be able to erase with pencil. And the reason for that is that I didn't want to have to redraw it on another piece of paper. So I went ahead and drew lightly, and then I'm starting to ink it with a micron pen. The reason I like micron is because it is alcohol based, so if I spill water on it, it will not bleed. Also, I want you all to notice the little sign I'm holding up. That's something special for my students. When I am teaching my elementary students, I hold up the quiet llamas to tell everyone to focus and be quiet. So they all hold up their quiet llamas with me. So since this is an art teacher inspired Steven Universe illustration, I decided to go ahead and do that little quiet llama. And also I'm wearing my apron, my art apron. So now that I've finished inking and erasing, I am going back in and I am starting to add some line variation. Line variation is really important to make your artwork look like it's more professional. If you skip this step, then your artwork kind of looks a little bit more boring. By adding a line variation, you're making it more important in certain areas, you're adding value, and overall, it just makes it look a lot better. When you start to go in with color, you always want to have some place where you can test your colors out and make sure that they're the colors that you want. Because, when you're working with a traditional media like I am, you won't be able to hit backspace. So you want to make sure that you know what you're doing. I'm using Copic markers right now. These are more of professional markers, which if you are really wanting to do stuff like this, I highly recommend the Copic marker brand. However, it's super expensive. Each one of those pens are about $5. So, realize it might take you a while to collect these nice markers. And the reason that these nice, more professional markers are different from your just everyday markers is because they are also alcohol based, so they're not going to smudge with water. And if you can see, they're really super smooth. And making it nice and smooth is kind of a good cartoon style to go with. I also like how when you layer the colors, it can add depth. So that means just going over one more time to add that depth. I did kind of mess up on the face a little bit by adding the gray there. Again, you should always double check before you go for it. But I decided I had to, go with the flow in terms of correcting my mistakes. And so I added the gray in other areas to make it not so apparent that the gray was a mistake. So going with the Steven Universe theme, I wanted to add a cool background. So my background, of course, I can't be sitting on Beach City. So instead I've made prairie. So I did get really inspired by how Rebecca Sugar, who's the original artist of Steven Universe, does the background in the sky. It's very chunky and like vaporwave aesthetic, and I really like that, so I tried to kind of emulate that with markers. Now it's kind of a little difficult to do that, and I had to end up going back over and layer and layer and layer a lot of markers, and my SD card ran out of space. So now you see the finished background there, where I've added some Pawnee Buttes and all that fun stuff. And I'm going back in and adding just a few more colors because I wanted things to pop. So it's still going, still working on just adding details. This is the time when you really want to look back and look at your artwork and see, where can I fix some things? Is there any white that's showing that I don't want to be showing? Is there any other detail I can add to make this pop even more? So one fun thing I did was added a jelly roll, which is this nice gel pen, to add sparkles. So that's kind of a fun little thing to do. If you wanted to have a gel pen, you can add sparkly whites to your finished drawing. And that is my very first Draw Along With Me sketch prompt. Now I'm really curious, what characters would you be inspired by, and what cartoon are you inspired by? Maybe it's not a cartoon, maybe it's something else. I would love to see your ideas, and I look forward to seeing them in your sketchbooks.